KBOB 89.9. We will be playing a rebroadcasting of Make It Make Sense. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Make It Make Sense. In this show, we'll be talking about black culture, consciousness, style, art, history, fashion, love, and politics. It's all about how we move and how we feel. The purpose of Make It Make Sense is to enhance our self-concept, our self-worth, and the community at large. So join us every Monday at 12 o'clock noon for an inspirational hour of growth, development, and spiritual enhancement.
Hello. And I know you're probably thinking that is not Emanuel Lewis's voice. So Mr. Lewis asked me to show up here today and make it make sense, y'all, because he is not quite here yet. I don't know if he got stuck in traffic or life is lifing sometimes. But I am Dr. Nicole Washington. I am a board certified psychiatrist. I'm not new to the studio. I used to be on a Friday afternoon show, Our Community, Our Health. So I love when I get to come back. So today we're just gonna get started without Mr. Lewis's presence, and that's okay. We know that he will come running in here on two wheels shortly. I do know that this is a two-parter, and when he invited me on, he said, "Hey, I want you to come and we're doing this series on Black women's mental health," which is great because Black women's mental health is my jam. Like it's what I do most of the time. Black women's mental health, healthcare professionals. So this is great. And so he mentioned to me that the first part we talked about mortality rates and birth rates and diseases and heart disease and hypertension. And so you have the basic foundation of what is going on, what's going on with our health. I think today is supposed to be more about how all of that stuff relates to our mental health and what we can do to heal ourselves, becoming a self-advocate for ourselves and making sure that we're getting all these things done. So I think this is really important. And the part that really feels the most important is to talk about the why we're not getting these things done. So you all know the number, 918-856-3873, 918-856-3873. If you want to call and talk to me, since Mr. Lewis is still making his way in. But let's start with the foundation. So I will say in my practice, one of the biggest reasons that I see Black women not focused on their nutrition, their physical activity, not getting all those screenings, is not because they don't care. It's not because y'all lazy. It's not because you don't care. But a lot of times it is because you put everybody else in front of you. So you all are out here, and regardless, you maybe you're a mom and you have children, and their needs are always going before yours. Maybe you're a spouse, and ladies, we know how these men can be. If you are married to a man, we know how sometimes they can be a little hesitant to care and attend to their physical health needs. So you're making sure kids are getting where they need to go. You're making sure husband's getting where he needs to go. Maybe you're in that sandwich generation. You have children, but then you also have parents who are aging that you're caring for. And so you're trying to make sure your parents are okay. And I don't know if you have siblings or you don't, but let's be real. A lot of times in our family systems, if you're the sister in the family, you are 1000% the one who is responsible. So your brothers look at you like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do next? What's next to do? So then again, that puts more on your plate. So a lot of times ladies will say to me, well, I just don't really know that I have time. I don't know that I have time to talk. I don't know that I have time to go sit and talk to the doctor and call and talk on the phone and schedule appointments and do all these things for myself because I have so much that I need to do for, all these other people. And so I put myself on the back burner just to be able to be able to I gotta put everybody else first, right? But this is the thing, ladies, you are the MVP. Because if you go down, the whole ship goes down. Whole thing goes down. If you go down because you didn't attend to your needs, whole thing falls apart. Because who's going to be the one to remind all those other people about all their stuff? Who's going to be the one that is making all the arrangements and doing all the things? Like, who's going to do that? If you're not well, if you're not whole, if you're not in a decent space, who's going to be the one to make sure that all those other people are taken care of? So really, if your reason for neglecting yourself is because you say, well, I have all these obligations to all these other people, at the end of the day, I'm just too tired to put it into me, really taking care of you is taking care of them, because a whole healthy you allows you to be able to be present for all those people. So if I can say anything else, I do believe that that is the number one thing that you can start thinking about is what am I giving myself versus what am I giving everybody else? And is that percentage fair? Is it really setting you up for success to really do the things you want to do? And for most of us, the answer is no. Most of us find that everybody else is on our calendar except us. Everybody else's appointments are our priority except our own. So if you're listening and you're like, I don't know if she's talking to me or not, if you're over 40 and you've never had a mammogram, if you're over 45 and you've never had your colonoscopy, but you make sure those kids get to their well child visits every year, you making sure your parents are getting to their appointments, you making sure the spouse gets his, meds filled, boxes filled, that's not okay. So I think we need to start by putting ourselves first. And it's not selfish. And you hear self-care isn't selfish. And nobody wants to say, well, I'm putting me first. But really, I mean, ladies, putting you first is putting everybody else first because you are the MVP. 918-856-3873. If you all would like to call and chat it up with me while we wait for Mr. Lewis, because I'm just not 1,000% sure what's going on with my boy. So when I know that, when we think about these things and we think about, what it is that leads to our declines in health, and we know all the stats, we know all of the mortality rates, we know about the birth rates, we know that Black women are having poorer outcomes when they have babies compared to our white counterparts. We also sometimes like to look at data like that in numbers and we say, well, I mean, maybe it's because, are we looking at poor people? Are we looking at, people who aren't as educated? But I'll tell you, college educated Black women are having on average poorer outcomes than their white counterparts with less than a high school education. So it's not even about education. It's not even about how much money you have. It's not about having good insurance. It's not about any of those things. What it is about is our system. And I just don't know that we can talk about this without just admitting our system is not great. Our healthcare system is full of bias. Our healthcare system is full of just bad stuff. And if you go back in history, there's probably not an area of medicine where you can't find at least one or two things. There are many, trust me, if you dig deep enough. But in every area of medicine, we know that our people have not always been treated right. We know that the numbers show that Black patients aren't always offered pain medication at the same rate as their white counterparts. We know that when it comes to even substance use, we know that Black patients are not offered interventions like Suboxone, and they're more likely to be referred to methadone clinics when it comes to treatment of certain substance use disorders. We know that we talked about our Black women in childbirth. We know what that looks like. We absolutely know that we are not getting standard of care all the time, and we have to figure out what that looks like. as a psychiatrist, I mean, mental health has not been kind to Black people at all. As a matter of fact, the big psychiatric association, the American Psychiatric Association, actually put out an apology. They put out an apology within the last maybe 6 years, basically saying, we know that we haven't done right and we need to work on that. I mean, that was basically the biggest organization in our field saying, yeah, we have not been kind to you. And this goes back so far. I can take you back way back. There was a psychiatrist who came up with an illness that he named drapetomania, which was basically a disease, a mental disease that they attributed to slaves who wanted to run away. So they literally said, if you're an enslaved person and you want to be free, surely something must be wrong with you. Because if you're an enslaved person, why wouldn't you want to stay enslaved? Like, why wouldn't you want it? They're taking care of you. They're giving you housing and food. You just got to work a little bit. Like, they literally said something must be mentally wrong with you. And from there, it just goes downhill with the way that Black people have seen treatment happen for them compared to our counterparts. We know that it's not uncommon that the data shows that Black men are more likely to be diagnosed with something like schizophrenia when maybe they have bipolar disorder. So we see that, which then leads to, we're putting you on more intense medication regimens, more intense side effects, just the stigma, your treatment, the way that people treat you and think about you, all those things can play a part. And so, we have to be able to recognize that medicine and healthcare just hasn't been in our favor. And then the question is, well, what in the heck am I supposed to do about that? Like, what do I do with the fact that this system that we're all trying to function in really wasn't meant for us, to be successful within? And I'll tell you, I'll be 100% open and honest with you. As a Black physician, it's really hard. And I think a lot of my colleagues feel the same way, because realistically, it's not enough for us to see all of you. And we know that. We absolutely know that. And it's really tough, because a lot of us went into medicine because we wanted to make a difference specifically in your lives. And we also, we are the man, and we are also experiencing the bias. Just because I'm a Black physician doesn't mean that I don't get that I'm not at risk, at least, of getting the same treatment. And I will tell you, I've had some pretty horrible outcomes with my pregnancies. And I did, being a physician and knowing a little bit of stuff, and none of that helped me when it came to my own pregnancies. And so we are part of the system. So we are trained by this biased system. And then we are also experiencing what it's like firsthand to be on the negative end of that bias. And being a Black doctor, honestly, doesn't put me at decreased risk of perpetuating some of those same biases, because I was trained by the same system. Like, it is really difficult for us to always constantly check ourselves, and we have to make sure that we are not out here perpetuating the things, because we were taught under that same bias, sometimes just flat out racist system, and we have to be able to figure that out. So it's hard for us, it's hard for y'all, but what do? Ideally, you find somebody that you feel like you can talk to. And that is sometimes easier said than done. Sometimes you're limited on who you can go to. Sometimes you can't get to that doctor because they have a really long waiting list, or my insurance won't cover them, or I have to go to a certain system. I'm just very limited. So sometimes you end up seeing somebody that you already, straight out the gate, first visit, you're a little hesitant because you know what you've heard, the stories, you know all the stuff. So you get in there and you have to figure out, how in the world do I advocate for myself? And that's a really, really tough thing to know how to do, because you go in hot. Like, we come in hot, and I'm gonna tell you, some of y'all come in hot. Y'all come in like, listen, I know what the system is trying to do to me, and I'm not gonna let it happen. I'm not gonna let y'all do blah 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 to me, and you gonna give me the care that I deserve, and da, 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 and you come in hot. And the only thing I will say to you is to breathe. Just take a second, because I think the reality is if you come in too hot, and I feel the heat. I understand where the heat's coming from. I definitely understand why you come in ready for this battle. But I also understand that when you come in too hot, sometimes people don't hear what you have to say. And sometimes they don't hear what's underneath all of that heat. And they don't hear what is behind all of that. And so it comes across as you're an angry black woman. That's what it comes across as. You're an angry black woman. And I'm not saying you don't have reason to be angry. Heck, in 2026, we all have a reason. We wake up every day, probably we could find a reason to be angry and it would be justified. But no one hears us when we lead with that anger. And so I do think it's important to figure out how to advocate for yourself and how to do so in a way that also makes sure that you get what you need on the back end. In mental health, we sometimes talk about how anger is not a pure emotion, right? Are people just angry for no reason, or is there something underneath it? So a lot of people believe that anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is not a primary emotion. So a lot of people will think, they're angry, but why? Why is this person so mad? Are you angry because you're scared? Because you also read the data about how terrible Black women are having it when it comes to their obstetrical outcomes and deliveries and all that stuff. Yeah, is that why you're angry? Because you're terrified. You're terrified this person isn't going to hear you, they're not going to listen to you, and you're going to have a bad outcome. Are you angry because it's out of frustration because you've tried to tell 50,000 people, what's going on with you and what you think is happening, and it feels like nobody's listening? Is that why you're angry? So I think for you, it's a good reason to think, am I going in too hot? And if I am, what's my reason? And being able to articulate that, I think will take us far. So I think the first thing that you can do as an advocate is to really think about, how am I advocating for myself? How am I coming across? What is the person on the other side of the table? And sometimes we think, well, that's not my problem, how they perceive me. But I think this is one of those cases where it does matter, because I want them to hear you. And especially if you're limited on who you can go to, when you can see them, how you can see them, then we need to make sure they hear you. So I want you to really take a step back and think about, like, being a self advocate. What kind of energy am I bringing to the table? Sometimes I want to bring hot energy too, but sometimes I have to cool it off a little bit to make sure that I am being heard and to make sure that people are listening to me. I also think that one of the best things that you can do as an advocate is to educate yourself, because the more educated you are, the better you will be at advocating for yourself. You will be able to, you'll be able to use the right words, and you'll be able to ask the right questions. And so, educating yourself on whatever that illness is that you have that you need to advocate about, just make sure you educate yourself. If diabetes is your thing, go ahead and do a lot of reading. I mean, we live in a time where there's no lack of information out there about things, and actually credible information. So you can go find somebody who's educating about diabetes. You can go out there and find somebody who's educating about heart disease in the Black community. You can go find somebody who can talk to you about mental health diagnoses. You can find all those things, and then you can take that back to your treatment team. But I do think it's important that you think about who it is that you're listening to and where are you getting your information from. Because really, anybody with a webcam, a cell phone, can say they're an expert and tell you anything. And you don't have any way of knowing necessarily how legit are they, where they get their data from, how accurate is this. And so you can find yourself coming in and repeating some information you heard from somebody on TikTok that is 1,000% wrong. And then your healthcare provider is looking at you like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. It happens to me almost every day of the week. And then I have to go, okay, well, let's talk about why that isn't 100% accurate. So making sure that you are educating yourself, but educating yourself from the most reputable sources. So I usually encourage people to start with those higher end, the sites like for health, National Institute of Health; for mental health, National Institutes of Mental Health; the CDC. And I know our faith in our government is It is not where it used to be in their ability to provide us with this healthcare advice. But those are still sites that I think the data that's on there and available. I haven't seen anything on either of those sites yet that made me say, now they are really tripping and this is not accurate. So they are still reasonable spaces to go look for information. I also consider looking at some of the more peer reviewed sites. So there are sites like you've seen them, you'll do a search and you'll see Mayo Clinic and you'll see Cleveland Clinic and you'll see Healthline Media. So these are sites where journalists write these articles and then they send them to a physician. Psych Central is one for mental health side. Um, the journalists write the articles and they get sent to a content expert in that area, and that person reads over it to make sure, okay, it sounds right, this is accurate, and then it gets put out. So it's just that extra layer of making sure that we're not putting out ridiculousness and tricking people into thinking they're getting good information. And then if you want to then go and look at stuff like Reddit and you want to see people's firsthand account of what they're dealing with, or you want to go to your TikTokers, people who are living with the illness and have their opinions, that's fine. But I think it's important that you're able to figure out what it is they're saying that is accurate, that can be applied generally, and which things can only be applied to them very specifically, because we don't know people's history. We don't know any of that. So in being an advocate for yourself, I think one, being able to take a step back and figuring out, how am I relaying the information? I'm passionate about my care. How passionate am I? How hot am I coming in, so to speak? And then making sure that we're educating ourselves. All right, y'all. 918-856-3873. 918-856-3873. Have we heard from Mr. Lewis? Haven't heard from him. Okay, so we're just gonna keep on. We hope that he is well, and that all is well with him. One of the other things that he wanted to make sure that we talked about was the importance of physical activity. And I think that is important. I do think we have to move. And I think a lot of times, most of the ladies I see tell me they're too tired to move. They say, I'm tired. They are exhausted. They are way too tired to exercise or to go to the gym on the way home or any of those things. They tell me that they can't afford a gym membership. In this economy, I can't afford to go to the gym. It is what it is. And I completely get that. Absolutely. But I think we need to be creative about how we consider physical activity, right? And how do, like, what do we consider to be physical activity? I don't enjoy going to the gym. I've never enjoyed going to the gym. Frankly, not an exercise person. I just don't like it. I need it, and I know I need it, and I do it, but it's not something I enjoy. So, how do I make it happen for me, because I know it's necessary. I find ways to make it fun. So, I have a form of exercise that allows me to do it at my house, and it's easy and convenient, and the music is great and I love it. But maybe you just enjoy dancing. I see y'all out here at these events. I see y'all line dancing. And if you don't know the dances, this is your time. Like, there are so many tutorials on YouTube that you can go learn how to do all these dances. So you can do these dances at your house. I mean, these songs are long, and you can get movement in by just learning these dances, doing them so many days a week. You can get out there, and that is a great way to get physical activity. Now, the recommendations are that you get moderate physical activity, 150 minutes a week, and that feels like a lot. But really, it's not 7 days in a week, right? I mean, are you not worth 150 minutes out of your week? I think you are. I think we all are. If we're honest with ourselves, we are worth it. And remember, your physical activity is really not even about today or tomorrow. My full motivation, because I told y'all I do not like working out. My whole motivation in working out today is because I want to be an elderly person who can move. I want to be 80 and able to climb a flight of stairs. I want to be a little old lady and able to pick up grandkids and prayerfully great grandkids. And those are things that happen with the work you put in today. So being able to bend down and stand up, being able to lift, being able to do things, all of that comes with the physical activity you do today. So what kind of shape you want your body to be in 20 years from now, very much dependent on the movements and the choices that you make today. So you may be moving fine today and all is well, and you can run behind the kids and do all the stuff. But down the road, will you still be able to do those things? Will a minor injury set you back much further than it needs to, because you're not physically active today? And I guarantee you, if you're not physically active today, you are not likely to start becoming physically active at 70 if you are not putting in the work today. So find ways to have fun for your physical activity. Find ways to have fun, and also make sure that you are thinking about future you, because future you will appreciate that. 918-856-3873. Nutrition is another one of those big things. And when we're busy, it's the last thing on our mind. We are more likely to pick up whatever we can, and we're more likely to do the quick stuff. We're more likely to just do whatever we can, because cooking and all that stuff does not sound like something that we have time for. We're so busy. Our kids have so many activities. We work in later hours. We're doing all these things, and it being able to put into our nutritional plan just sometimes doesn't end up happening because we're just super busy and we're tired. I mean, I keep going back to that. We're tired. We are tired. We're absolutely tired. So, that nutrition piece is important. I love the idea of meal prepping. I mean, I think it sounds amazing. But when it actually comes time to pull out all those containers and put that stuff together, it's a whole different story. It's a whole different ball game. And you think, well, I just don't have a lot of time. I mean, I'm working 40 plus hours a week. I'm running around with these kids. I'd like to spend some time with my family, right? I'd like to be able to do things with them. I don't have time to be in the kitchen cooking. But this is where I say this and that physical activity. We talk about creativity. These are some of those moments that we can also set our children, if you're a mom, up for success, because they can also engage in the physical activity with us. They can also engage in the meal prepping with us in age appropriate ways. And that will give them some foundational tools to use when they're adults and they have families of their own, or they're adults in the workforce trying to figure out how to take care of themselves and attend to these healthcare needs. So, getting everybody in the kitchen, getting their input as kids get older, putting them in charge of an activity, making them pick a week of, okay, what are we going to meal prep this week? What would you like to have? There's something you'd like to try. These kids out here on the internet, put them on some sites where they can look at some recipes and come up with some things that they would like to do. Make them a part of this. I think it's really helpful to bring our young people in to these activities like nutrition, like our physical activity. Bring them in with you. Set that foundation. Moms, if you're out here and you have daughters, you are teaching them how to continue to put their nutrition and physical activity as a priority. So you're teaching them how to be a grown-up lady in the future. You have sons. Maybe your sons will grow up and be married to women one day. And if that is the case, you want them to be the kind of husband or partner who helps out and who understands the importance of these things. And I hadn't even talked about that. I don't know. Do we need to do a commercial? We're gonna do a commercial, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about this whole bringing the boys into the equation.
How to order chicken wings. Number one, find a good wing spot.
I know a wing spot, Max Wings.
Number two, decide if you want a combo or if you want to order a la carte.
Huh? What's that?
Well, combos come with chicken, veggie sticks, fries, and a drink for a discounted price. A la carte means that you order each item separately.
Ah, okay.
3. Decide if you want bone in, boneless, or cauliflower wings, and then determine the delicious flavor you want on your wings.
I didn't even know cauliflower had wings.
You learn something new every day. Have you been to Max Wings? Max
Yep.
Wings is located at 782 East Pine Street in Tulsa. We're open Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Come to Max Wings, home of the dry rub fries. How to order chicken wings. Number 1, find a good wing spot.
I know a wing spot, Max Wings.
Number 2, decide if you want a combo or if you want to order a la carte.
Huh? What's that?
Well, combos come with chicken, veggie sticks, fries, and a drink for a discounted price. A la carte means that you order each item separately.
Ah, okay.
3, decide if you want bone in, boneless, or cauliflower wings, and then determine the delicious flavor you want on your wings.
I didn't even know cauliflower had wings.
You learn something new every day. Have you been to Max Wings? Max Wings is located at 782 East Pine Street in Tulsa. We're open Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Come to Max Wings, home of the dry rub fries.
It's worth a try.
All right, we are back. So we did find out that Mr. Lewis is alive and well. He had a little bit of car trouble, which happens. We said sometimes life comes at you fast. He is safe. He is well. He is on his way. As soon as he can get here, we might be done by the time he gets here, but that's okay. That's okay. 918-856-3873. So before the break, we were talking about modeling behavior for our young people, and we talked about our daughters and that our behavior today and the way we put ourselves first or don't put ourselves first, or the way we care for ourselves or don't care for ourselves, really shows us how to for them to be as grown-ups. So I see a lot of women who say, well, it's what my mom did. She just kind of worked herself, and she just didn't have a lot of hobbies, and she didn't really hang out with friends, and she just didn't get to, because that's what they saw. And they assume that is what it is like to be a grown-up woman and to be a mom and to be a partner, and what that looks like. And so I also talked about how we also model for our sons. If our sons are going to grow up to be married to women, and we are showing them, oh, this is what it's like to be a grown-up woman. So this is what it's like. And then they don't think twice when their wife says, hey, can you help me with these things? Hey, can you be a part of this? Hey, can you, I'm going to go out with my friends this weekend while you have the children. And that's just not something that I see. And so when I see women a lot of times, and they'll tell me, I just feel so overwhelmed. I feel so overwhelmed. Dr. Washington, I feel so overwhelmed. And they start telling me about their lives. And I'm like, well, you don't feel overwhelmed. You are. That's not a feeling. That is absolutely a fact, because you are working full time. You are momming to these children, and then you're wifing or partnering, and you are maybe taking care of parents who are aging. Oh, and you're a part of this organization. Oh, and I also am a part of this, and my kids are in this organization. Oh, and I'm on the PTA, and we have all these things that we have to do. Oh, and by the way, I'm taking classes at night because I'm trying to work towards this certification. Well, when do you have time? When do you have time for yourself? When do you have time? When do you have time? When do you have the time to put into yourself? And so you are overwhelmed. And so I think when you can take out that time to hang out with your girlfriends, when you can take out that time to to figure out who you are, what are your hobbies, what are your things. When you take out that time to put yourself on the calendar, like you put everybody else on the calendar, then you are showing both your daughters and your sons and your nieces and your nephews and all those little people looking up to you about what it looks like how do you care for yourself, and you model that for them. And I think that is really really important, because they learn from us. They learn from what we say, but more so, they learn from what we do, and they are watching us all the time. So, since Mr. Lewis couldn't make it, we do have someone else joining us in his place today. We introduce yourself, please.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Junior. I'm from the Jewish radio show. Little one, tell your stories. Yeah.
All right. So he is here. He's here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about what we've been talking about?
I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about these kids, going out here just wilding out?
Wilding out. Well, I mean, I think kids been wilding out for a long time. When I was a kid, I'm sure we did our version. Your how old are you?
16.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure when your parents, they probably don't want me telling you, your parents, your grandparents, they probably did their own version of wilding out back in the day. We all did. But you know what? We didn't have the internet, and we didn't have social media following us around, and we just didn't have that. I mean, I think every generation kind of goes through their things that upset the previous generation. I mean, I can absolutely think of music that I was listening to, and my parents you can't even understand what they're saying. That's not even
of course.
Right.
Yeah,
and so this was the 90s, and then here I am today, and I'm like, how you know what he's saying? I can't even understand what he's saying. I'm Googling lyrics, trying to figure out what they're saying, because I can't understand the mumbling and the stuff.
It's mostly our music compared to y'all music. Our music, it's all cuss words. It's y'all music, y'all got it got a message in y'all music.
You know what though? I will say this. There was some music that had messages, but also in reality, there's some songs that I have heard today as an old person, and I have gone back and I have thought, oh, is that what they were saying? That's crazy. That is. We had radio versions. That's what it was. A lot of artists would make songs, and then they would specifically make a radio version of the song. Yeah. So I didn't even know what the bad part was. I didn't know the X-rated version. I knew the radio version. So I'm here, and then I hear it today, and I'm clutching my imaginary pearls, oh Lord, is that what they were saying?
They gave you the good version.
Yeah, they gave us the clean version. Yeah. I don't hear a lot of that so much anymore, and because nobody's listening to the radio, right? Y'all listen to the actual real deal version, so you're not listening to the clean version. And so I think every generation goes through their things, and I think it's just important to think about how those things follow you. And I don't know, that's not something I had to think. I didn't have to think about I did this thing and it was on the internet and now it's forever in the world. Yes, I didn't have to think about 20 years from now, somebody might be able to, I might decide to run for office and somebody go uncover some video of me twerking on a rooftop 20 years ago. And then what, right? I didn't have to think about that. Yeah. And y'all got to think about that. And that's a lot.
Yeah, some kids out here be wilding, doing too much, But me, I chill. I don't do all that
stuff. Good for you. Yeah. Chilling is fine, but it is true. I think we all go through, our own little things. It's interesting, mental health stuff, and so I deal with a lot of mental health. And so I do work with a lot of women, and I work with a lot of young adults, and I have 2 children who are young adults. And so I think that transition, right, into young adulthood is wild. That in and of itself is wild, because you go from your parents telling you everything to do, do this, do that, do this, do that.
But when you get to the get to grown part, it's going to depend on you.
It is going to depend on you, but will you be ready?
Yeah, well, some kids ain't ready, but
will you be ready?
Some kids.
Will you know what to do? Will you know what to do? And I think there are a lot of things that my young adults would say, I had no idea. Yeah. They had no clue. And I work with a lot of young adults who are not my children. And just that transition is really, really hard. And I do. I mean, I think it's hard to be a young person today. Y'all got a lot coming at you. right? Y'all got a
lot.
lot of stuff coming at you. You know, I still think it's so crazy that we expect 18-year-olds to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their lives and to know. And everybody's like, where are you going to college? What are you going to major in? What are you going to do? I think that's so wild.
It's a lot on our plates.
It is a lot on your plates. And I think if you think about your parents, grandparents, like that generation, like people went into careers that were safe, that they were going to make money. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people, you know, your grandparents were like, you're going to be a nurse or a doctor, you're going to be an engineer, you're going to do something that like we know is good money and you're going to have a check coming in every month. It might not even be something you enjoy.
Yeah.
And now y'all are, you know, you're going to work a long time. I mean, people are living longer.
Yeah.
And you're going to work a long time. So, you know, finding that one thing that's going to financially support you, because that's important,
Yes, ma'am.
but also something that you are going to be okay doing for 40 years, right? You know, I mean, people are working later, people are living longer. If you have a 40-year career, God, I hope it's something you get to wake up to every day and enjoy, and not something that you just do because you need to pay your bills, you know?
That's why I'm going to school. I'm going to school for engineering. You know, probably like, I'm going to be like doing underwater engineering.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds fun.
But I do have some fears, like, because when I was like 7 years old, I was like, me and my cousin, my mom went fishing. It was like back in like California. It was like, went fishing, it was on the boat. I was like scared to death. I was scared.
In the water?
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
It was like a boat floating on the water. I'd be scared. But when I got actually like, used to it, when I got older, I kept getting older. I was like, why was I scared? Like,
yeah. Do you swim?
Yeah, I swim like, we did like a swimming class, like it was like last year, like 2025. But me, like the kids I was going against, there was much faster. But the coach saying like coach, he was saying that I had like good flow, like, you know, I had my good stance, all that. But I'll be scared sometimes though.
I think that's awesome, and you know, I mean, anybody who has any kind of fears of anything, do what you did. You know, don't go ahead, take the lessons. You know, do the thing. I do see a lot of adults who have had some of the same fears they've been carrying around for years and years and years, and haven't put in the work to get them better. It's important that if you feel like you have something that's holding you back from living your fullest life, to consider, you know, what do I need to do? So for you, it was, I need swim lessons. But if swim lessons hadn't been enough and you were still having that kind of fear of the water, yet you wanted to do this, you liked it, but you were scared of it, then that would be a great time to consider therapy and finding somebody to help you work through that. And sometimes that's a hard thing for Black people. We are not always jumping into wanting to talk to people in therapy. But I think younger people are more open to the idea. I think, like, you know, my parents, grandparents, they never would have thought about going to a therapist, like telling somebody your stuff. I think younger people are more open to that, which I think is a positive.
Yeah, it was one kid in my class. He was white. He was like, we was talking. I was spinning facts like about blacks. He got mad and said, "Y'all blacks was basically trash." I was like,
wow.
So I said, first of all, we own this land first. Y'all took it from us. So he got mad and told the teacher, and the teacher sent me to the principal's office. Like, just saying, it was history class too.
Yeah, it is hard. I mean, you know, again, you talk about times being different and things being different. Yeah. I think, like, for you all, people feel so much more empowered to just say ridiculous things. Like people just say things that I think it wasn't socially acceptable to say. So people didn't say it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I went to school with and grew up around people who probably felt similarly, but they didn't say it out loud. And they didn't say it to your face, and they didn't. And now I think we live in a time where people feel like super empowered to just say all the racist, ridiculous things that they, you know, can come up with. And it is still important for us to be able to figure out how to manage all that, though, and not to let it take you to a place that you don't want to go. Because ultimately, you know, you were the one that got sent to the office. You know, not the other person. And so it is important to think about, you know, those interactions, because it'll be an interesting world the next several years because people out here really acting a fool.
They're cruel.
They are.
They're cruel.
They are. And but I think that goes back to what I was saying about like people being angry and what's like underneath, the anger. I think a lot of people are edgy. A lot of people are irritable. Like if I go out to public places and you listen to just, how people talk to servers and wait staff and how people talk to each other. And if you're standing in line somewhere, people are just, everybody's on edge.
Yeah.
And it's just a really crazy time right now. It's a crazy time for, your grandparents' generation, because, here they are. And then your parents are worried about you and their parents. And they got all of that going on. And then here you are, you all are trying to figure out how to navigate and move yourself into young adulthood. And all of a sudden you're in charge and responsible and you're supposed to, be able to know what to do. And like everybody's just edgy.
Yeah.
Everything's expensive. People worried about not having jobs and what we're going to do. It's just a really tough time, I think, to be alive. So everybody's cruel and edgy and just saying all kind of stuff. And it makes it hard. So I think it's important to make sure, that we just, whatever phase of life you're in, that you're taking care of those things that will allow you to continue to hold it together, regardless of like all the craziness that's going on around you. So whether that's the physical health stuff we've talked about, staying on top of your nutrition, whether that's, being able to make sure you get enough sleep, right? Like people don't get enough sleep. You gotta sleep. Sleep is important. Sleep is when your body resets and that's when all the good stuff happens. So making sure you get good sleep, making sure you're able to be able to kind of take care of your body. And if that means mental health treatment, like that's what that means. I think Mr. Lewis, he said, well, in your last little bit, talk about what you think is important. Like, what do I feel is relevant? What haven't we talked about? And so, I think one of those things is the willingness to get into some kind of mental health treatment.
Yeah.
We are good at paying attention to what's going on with our bodies. And so I see people all the time and I'll say, are you depressed? And they'll say, well, I don't really want to say I'm depressed. And I was like, well, you don't have to say it. Just because you don't want to say it don't mean it's not true. You could absolutely be depressed. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you don't want to admit it. It doesn't matter. But if you are unable to feel happy about things, if you're having a hard time just enjoying stuff that used to be enjoyable to you, if you're isolating from your friends and family, if you just feel blah, or you feel down, or you don't feel much of anything, maybe you should consider that maybe there is something going on with me. And so often we tend to think like, well, I'm getting up and going to work every day and doing all the stuff, so I can't be depressed, because we tend to think of depression as like, I can't get out of bed and I want to kill myself and I can't get anything done. And that's not, that's the more severe end of depression, but there's everywhere from mild to that, to that point. And so, just, I think, like I said, we live longer, we work, we have our careers, we have our families. It just seems like, if we can do all we can to get ourselves in a position where we can enjoy that life, those many years that we will have on this earth, the better off we'll be. So I think, for me, in thinking about, wrapping this up and kind of going through, I think making sure that we're open to seeking out kind of that help and just doing what we need to do. So for you as a young person, when you think about getting older and you think about like, health and mental health, and what do you think that, and so because I imagine these are like people my age listening to this, right? Like, what do you think would be a great thing that a person my age, a parent, could do to help prepare their young person for young adulthood? What's something you think that could be helpful?
For young adulthood.
Yep. What could a parent do to help their 16-year-old get ready?
Well, for me, like my mom always say, like, if you work harder, not work harder, but work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And then she like say like, if you sit down and listen to like a older person, like look what they doing, and then think about what you want to do, and you put that together, like you'll be doing good, like doing what you want to do, and you won't, you know, mess up, like, cause all you really gotta do is like listen, take notes. Like that's what I take notes.
So your mama said, pay attention to pay attention to the grown-ups in your life. And it's the good ones, right? The ones who are the ones who are living in a way that you say that looks pretty cool. I like that.
The ones who live like comfortable and like not like in fear all the time.
Yeah.
Not like ones are like going out here messing up, going crazy, like going insane, losing your mind.
Okay, so it sounds like hanging around healthy adults is a helpful thing, and working smarter, not harder, is absolutely, because we can work ourselves in the ground, for sure. Those are great pieces of advice.
You're like, my bad, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And you're like, get like good friends, pick like surround yourself with good friends, not to don't hang out with bad friends, because bad friends get you caught up some stuff. The good friends get you like to good position. Like they'll do good, so that makes you want to do good.
Yeah.
And you need to get around like good people to make you want to do good.
Yeah. No, that is also very true. Yeah. That being able to hang around people who are going in the same direction as you. Right? Like if you are hanging out with somebody who is not trying to go in the same direction as you, they might pull you back. Right? I mean, it could be that you pull them forward, but that's going to be a lot of work. And it could also be that they pull you backwards. So it is important to make sure that you surround yourself with the right people and your friends, and thinking about what do you want for your future, and are you hanging out with people who want the same thing? I think that is extremely important. Yeah, that's really cool. You were talking about social media stuff. Well, we started talking about social media stuff. We're talking about wilding out. Yeah. How do you think social media negatively affects?
Thank you for tuning in to Make It Make Sense. Enjoy your day.